his own thoughts. He is not avoiding your presence. He is wrestling with the depth and meaning that your presence brings into his life. When his emotions grow stronger, he doesn't always move toward them immediately. Sometimes he pauses, not because the feeling is unwanted, but because it is powerful. He needs a moment to acknowledge it, study it, and let it form quietly inside the private corners of his mind. This pause can look like hesitation, but it is often a form of respect. A man steps back when he senses something valuable. His silence is not empty space. It is full of reflection. He often notices more than he speaks. He pays attention to the tone of your voice, the way you smile, the small changes in your mood. He takes in these details piece by piece, trying to understand the bigger meaning behind them. His quietness is not a sign of disinterest. It is a sign that he is paying attention to the finer points of who you are, because he wants to understand you deeply, not vaguely. And yes, strong feelings can unsettle him, not because you are unsafe, but because love forces him to open the parts of himself he usually keeps hidden. It challenges his sense of independence and reminds him that someone else now matters in ways he can't easily ignore. So he steps back not to escape, but to prepare for the emotional surrender that real love eventually demands. His true intentions show up in small, unconscious actions, the way he checks if you're comfortable, the way he finds himself standing a little closer, the way he remembers small details you didn't expect him to notice, the way he offers support without being asked. These are not the signs of a man avoiding you. These are the quiet instincts of someone whose heart is unfolding in the background. He is not running away. He is changing. Love is rewriting old patterns inside him, calming fears, softening defenses, and awakening emotions he may never have spoken out loud. What looks like distance is often the early stage of devotion. What feels like hesitation is the mind reorganizing itself around a new emotional truth. So when a man becomes quieter, do not automatically assume he has stopped caring. Sometimes space is where love gathers strength. Sometimes silence is where his heart begins to speak more clearly. And sometimes the man who seems unsure is actually the one who has already chosen you long before he finds the confidence to express it. When a man pulls back emotionally, many assume he has lost interest, shifted his focus elsewhere, or that his feelings were never real. But often, the reverse is true. This distance is not him escaping affection. It is an instinctive response triggered by the weight of what he is beginning to feel. When he starts to care deeply, something significant shifts inside. His inner world, once predictable and controlled, becomes filled with a new kind of energy. This emotional wave can feel exciting but also confusing, and for many men, especially those who think deeply or carry emotional scars, the first reaction to overwhelming feelings is to retreat briefly, not because they want space from the woman they care about, but because they need room to understand what is happening inside themselves. Love introduces the possibility of vulnerability, something many men are not raised to handle openly. They may have been taught to hide fear, suppress intense emotions, and present a calm, steady exterior at all times. When love enters the picture, it challenges that conditioning. Suddenly he realizes someone else has the power to affect him deeply, to bring joy, but also potential hurt. This awareness can activate his internal warning system, urging him to step back so he can process the meaning of these emotions before fully embracing them. This retreat is not emotional abandonment, it is self-protection, a pause for internal adjustment. In this quiet space, he is not forgetting the connection, he is replaying moments, studying small interactions, and trying to understand why he feels such a strong pull toward you. He is questioning whether these feelings are true, lasting, and safe. He may think about past relationships, comparing the depth of what he feels now with old patterns. He might fear repeating mistakes, losing himself, or letting down someone he genuinely values. All this inner processing takes time, and because many men do not express their emotional thoughts out loud, this internal work appears from the outside as distance. During this phase, he often feels torn inside. One part of him wants to move closer, to express affection, to embrace the connection fully, but another part feels cautious, uncertain of how to manage emotions this strong. His heart moves forward, but his mind steps back, creating a temporary contradiction in his behavior. He might seem warm one day and quieter the next. This inconsistency is not a lack of care. It is the result of being emotionally overwhelmed. He is learning how to let love in without losing his emotional balance. Psychologically, this retreat is a transitional period. His feelings are shifting from simple attraction to deeper attachment. This shift requires emotional restructuring, breaking old barriers, reconsidering long-held beliefs about relationships, and accepting that he is no longer alone in his emotional world. He must adjust to the idea that his choices, habits, and emotional rhythms now involve another person. This adjustment is not immediate. He needs time to sit with the feeling, understand it, and allow it to merge with his identity. This entire experience is easily misunderstood, especially by those who believe love should always be clear, loud, and direct. But for many men, love begins quietly, privately, and sometimes with fear. It starts in the stillness of their thoughts, where they face the possibility of emotional exposure, and what seems like avoidance is often the beginning of emotional surrender, a quiet sign that this woman matters more than he expected, and that the growing feelings deserve careful handling instead of rushed expression. The inner battle that begins within a man when he starts falling in love is one of the most misunderstood emotional experiences he goes through. From the outside, he may seem distant, inconsistent, or unsure, but inside, he is managing a deep conflict between longing and vulnerability. This conflict does not mean he wants to avoid love. It means the feelings are strong enough to shake the emotional structure he has depended on for years. When he first recognizes the depth of his feelings, it can feel like two forces inside him suddenly awaken. One part wants to move closer, open up, express affection, and surrender to the connection. The other part instinctively pulls away, overwhelmed by the emotional exposure love requires. This creates tension that often appears as temporary withdrawal or mixed signals. For many men, desire is simple, but vulnerability feels like unfamiliar ground. Attraction feels exciting and natural. But the openness required for real connection pushes him into areas he has avoided. He may have learned earlier in life to hide his softer emotions, to stay guarded, to appear in control. These learned habits built emotional walls that once protected him from disappointment or pressure. When someone enters his life who stirs real emotion, these walls begin to shake. Suddenly he faces the possibility of being deeply seen, understood, and relied on. And this awareness can make him step back for a moment. But stepping back is not rejection. It is an instinctive pause as he works through this new emotional landscape. His inner conflict is also fueled by the fear of being misunderstood. A man may want to move forward, but he may also fear coming on too strong or losing his composed exterior. The need to appear calm and steady can clash with the strong emotions rising within him. He worries about exposing too much too soon, about facing rejection, or about becoming attached to someone whose feelings may not match his own. These doubts lead him to retreat briefly so he can observe, reflect, and understand without revealing too much of himself too quickly. At the same time, his desire pulls him toward the connection with surprising strength. He thinks about her more often. He imagines future conversations. He seeks closeness. But this desire clashes with his inner caution, creating a back-and-forth dynamic that leaves him feeling emotionally unsettled. He might act warm and present one moment, then quiet and thoughtful the next. This is not emotional inconsistency. It is emotional weight. He wants to step forward, but only when he feels he can do so without losing his sense of stability. During this inner struggle, he begins questioning parts of himself he usually never thinks about. He becomes more aware of his weaknesses, past errors, and emotional limits. Vulnerability has a way of making a man confront his own unhealed parts. When a man withdraws into silence, many people assume he is pulling away, losing interest, or slowly slipping out of your life. Yet often the truth is far less obvious and far more meaningful. Human emotion does not move in straight lines. It turns inward first, like a seed preparing to open, and the man who seems distant may simply be facing the weight of what he feels. Love for him is rarely loud at the beginning. It arrives as a quiet shift inside his inner world. He senses it before he fully understands it. And that uncertainty can make him step back not from you, but into himself. He is not avoiding your presence. He is wrestling with the rising sense of meaning that your presence brings. When his feelings grow stronger, he doesn't always run toward them. Sometimes he pauses, not because the emotion is unwanted, but because it is powerful. He must measure it, examine it, and allow it to form within the hidden regions of his psyche. This pause can look like hesitation, but it is actually respect. A man steps back when he senses something sacred. His silence is not empty, it is full of thought. He observes more than he expresses. He listens to the softness of your voice, notices the way you laugh, the way you move, the way you relax or become tense. He gathers these moments like pieces of a larger pattern he is trying to understand. His quietness is a sign that he is paying attention to every detail because he wants to understand you deeply, not on the surface. And yes, love challenges him not because you are a threat, but because love requires the revealing of the inner self. It asks him to let go of the illusion of complete independence and allow someone else to matter. So he steps back, not to avoid you, but to prepare for the surrender that real love requires. You will see the truth in his unconscious actions, the way he checks if you are comfortable, the way he stands a little closer without realizing it, the way he remembers small details you never expected him to hold on to, the way he offers support without being asked. These are not the actions of someone running away. These are the instincts of a man whose heart is quietly opening. He is not leaving, he is transforming. Love is rewriting old stories inside him, reshaping fears, softening defenses, awakening long silent desires. What looks like distance is often the start of devotion. What feels like hesitation is his mind adjusting to a new emotional reality. So when a man retreats, do not assume a lack of feeling. Sometimes distance is where love gathers its strength. Sometimes silence is where his heart begins to speak. And sometimes the man who seems to be stepping back is actually the one who has already chosen you long before he finds the courage to express it. When a man pulls back emotionally, the quick assumption many people make is that he has lost interest, that he has turned elsewhere, or that his feelings were never real. But in many situations, the opposite is true. His withdrawal is not an escape from affection. It is a protective instinct triggered by the depth of emotion he is beginning to feel. When a man starts to fall in love, something deep shifts inside him. His inner world, which once felt predictable and controlled, becomes filled with new intensity. This emotional wave can be exciting, but it can also be confusing. And for many men, especially those who are thoughtful or carry past pain, the first reaction to overwhelming emotion is to step back. Not because they want space from the woman they care about, but because they need room to understand the depth of what is happening inside them. Love confronts him with the possibility of vulnerability, something many men were never taught to accept openly. From childhood, they may have been taught to hide fear, suppress emotional overwhelm, and present a steady, unmoved outer self. When love enters, it challenges all of that. Suddenly he becomes aware that another person has the power to affect him deeply, to bring him joy but also potential hurt. This awareness triggers an internal alarm, pushing him to retreat for a moment so he can process the weight of these emotions before stepping into them completely. This retreat is not avoidance, it is self-preservation, a moment of inner adjustment. Inside this withdrawal, he is not forgetting the connection. He is replaying moments, studying conversations, trying to understand why he feels such a strong pull toward her. He is examining whether these feelings are real, lasting, and safe. He may think about past relationships, comparing the depth of his new emotions with the patterns he has known before. He may worry about repeating old mistakes, about losing himself, or about disappointing someone he truly cares for. All of this inner reflection takes time and space. And because many men do not speak openly about their emotional process, this internal struggle appears as distance or sudden quietness. During this time, he often feels a deep inner conflict. Part of him wants to move closer, express himself, embrace the connection fully, but another part feels cautious, unsure of how to navigate such powerful emotion. His heart moves forward, but his mind pulls back, creating a contradiction in his actions. He might act caring and open one day and then quiet and thoughtful the next. This inconsistency is not because his feelings are weak, but because they are strong enough to overwhelm him. He is learning how to let love in without losing his sense of self. Psychologically, this moment of retreat is a transition. His emotions are shifting from simple attraction to genuine attachment. This change requires emotional restructuring, the breaking down of old defenses, the reconsideration of long-held beliefs about relationships, and the acceptance that he is no longer walking alone emotionally. He must get used to the idea that his choices, habits, and emotional rhythms now include another person. For many men, this adjustment is not immediate. They must sit with the feeling, explore it, and let it settle into their identity. This entire process is often misunderstood by those who assume love should be obvious, fast, and direct. But for many men, love begins quietly, inwardly, and sometimes with fear. It starts in the private space of their thoughts where they face the possibility of emotional exposure. And what appears to be distance is often the beginning of emotional surrender. A subtle recognition that this woman matters more than expected, and that the feelings growing inside him deserve careful handling rather than quick expression. The internal conflict that rises within a man when he starts to fall in love is one of the most misunderstood emotional experiences he goes through. To others, he may seem distant, inconsistent, or emotionally guarded, but inside he is managing a complex battle between desire and vulnerability. This conflict is not a sign of avoidance. It is proof that his emotions are becoming meaningful enough to shake the structures he has used for emotional safety. When he first senses the depth of his feelings, it can feel like two opposing forces awaken within him. One part wants to move closer, open up, express affection, and surrender to the connection. The other part instinctively steps back, overwhelmed by the exposure that love invites. This creates a psychological tension that shows up through mixed behavior or temporary withdrawal. For many men, desire is easy, but vulnerability is the real challenge. Emotional attraction feels natural and energizing, but the vulnerability that comes with real connection pushes him into places he has avoided for years. He may have learned early in life to hide his softer emotions, to stay guarded, to maintain control. These early lessons build emotional walls that helped him survive past pain, disappointment, or expectations placed on him. When someone arrives who touches him deeply, these walls begin to shake. Suddenly, he must face the possibility of being seen, understood, or emotionally relied upon, and the alarm this sets off can cause him to step back. But stepping back is not rejection. It is a thoughtful pause as he navigates this new emotional reality within himself. This inner conflict also comes from the fear of misjudgment or misunderstanding. A man may want to move forward and show affection, but he may fear coming on too strong or losing his sense of control. The wish to appear steady and emotionally grounded can conflict with the strong emotions rising within him. He may worry that showing too much too soon will expose him to rejection. He might wonder whether the feelings are mutual or whether he is letting himself become attached to someone who may not share his depth. These questions cause him to retreat briefly so he can observe, think, and understand the situation without exposing too much of himself too quickly. At the same time, desire pulls him toward the connection with a force he cannot explain. He finds himself thinking about her, imagining future conversations, seeking closeness and becoming more attentive. But this desire clashes with his internal caution, creating a push and pull dynamic that leaves him feeling unsettled. He may act warm and open one moment and then become quiet and reflective the next. This inconsistency is not a lack of sincerity, but a sign of the emotional weight he is balancing. He wants to move forward, but only after making sure he can do so without losing his emotional stability. During this inner struggle, he becomes more aware of his own flaws, past mistakes, and emotional limits. Vulnerability has a way of making a man confront the parts of himself he normally avoids. He may rethink choices, question his readiness, or wonder whether he is capable of the kind of love he wants to give. And all of this happens quietly, often unseen, hidden behind the simple mask of silence or distance. Needs reassurance not only from the relationship, but from himself that love can live side by side with independence. When a man starts to fall deeply in love, one of the strongest signs does not appear in his words, but in the unconscious actions that rise without him even noticing. These soft, instinctive behaviors often speak much louder than anything he tries to say, because they move past the filters of logic, pride, and emotional defense. Even if he tries to hide his emotions or hold back, his unconscious mind expresses what his conscious mind is still learning to understand. These behaviors become a window into his real emotional state, especially during moments when he pulls away or looks distant. Even in that space, he still behaves differently toward the woman he cares for in ways he cannot fully control or disguise. One of the earliest unconscious signs appears as protectiveness. A man in love naturally increases his awareness of her well-being even when he steps back emotionally to process what he feels. He notices when she seems stressed, tired, uneasy, or burdened. He may not say much, but he quietly positions himself in ways that create emotional or physical safety. He may check on her at unexpected times, offer help without being asked, or react strongly when he senses someone treating her unfairly. These protective reactions do not come from a sense of duty, but from emotional investment. They are not planned or forced. They rise from deep instinct. A man may not speak openly about his affection, but his body language and instinctive responses reveal that her comfort and safety matter to him on a level he cannot hide. Another unconscious sign shows through consistency during key moments. While he may look distant in casual times, he stays reliable when it truly matters. When she faces challenges, he finds himself responding quickly, offering support, or simply being there, even if he does not fully understand why he feels driven to do so. He might show up emotionally in stressful times, even when he feels hesitant inside. During calmer days, this pattern is common because love activates a deeper sense of responsibility inside him that becomes stronger than fear or uncertainty. Even if he steps back for a while to manage his thoughts, he cannot fully disconnect when it comes to her well-being. Men also reveal hidden affection through small, thoughtful actions that seem random to him but meaningful to her. He remembers small details she never expected anyone to recall. He remembers preferences, stories, worries, and dreams long after the moment has passed. He might buy something she mentioned only once, adjust his schedule to align with hers, or quietly do things that make her days easier. These gestures grow from unconscious emotional imprinting. When a man cares, her presence becomes part of his inner world, shaping his thoughts, choices, and habits without him realizing it. He begins thinking ahead in ways that include her, and this unconscious planning shows how deep his emotions run. Another subtle sign is emotional mirroring. When a man loves, his emotional state slowly synchronizes with hers. If she is upset, he feels unsettled without knowing why. If she is cheerful, he feels lighter and more motivated. This emotional connection is a natural psychological response to attachment. He may never explain that he feels linked to her mood, but his reactions adjust according to her emotional tone. He might worry when she withdraws, feel relieved when she smiles, or behave differently when she seems far away. These changes come from a deeper emotional bond building beneath the surface. There are also unconscious physical signs. His body naturally turns toward her even when he tries to stay neutral. He positions himself closer than necessary, holds eye contact longer than expected, mirrors her movements, and glances at her when he thinks she will not notice. He may touch his face, adjust his clothing, or become more aware of his posture around her. These are all quiet signals of heightened emotional and physical alertness. These reactions are not planned or rehearsed. They are automatic responses that appear when the heart becomes involved. These unconscious signs show a truth many people overlook. A man does not need to announce his love for it to influence his actions. When a man starts falling in love, what happens inside him is not just an emotional response. It is a deep internal shift that challenges his identity, beliefs, and emotional defenses. This shift rarely moves in a straight line. It comes in waves, pulling him inward, slowing him down, and pushing him to reflect on himself in ways he never needed to before. To others, he may seem distant or quiet, but inside, he is going through a psychological adjustment that forces him to face parts of himself he has ignored or protected for a long time. His step back is not escape. It is the space he needs to adjust to the emotional weight rising inside him. Love acts as a mirror, showing him both his strengths and his fragile places. A man may suddenly notice insecurities he thought he had already overcome. He might wonder whether he is emotionally able to meet someone else's expectations, or whether he is worthy of the connection growing before him. This personal reflection is not created by doubt in the woman, but by the understanding that love demands a level of emotional responsibility he cannot treat lightly. His instinct is to pull back just enough to examine himself without the pressure of performing emotionally in front of someone he truly values. In that quiet space, he confronts old fears, past wounds, and patterns he never addressed, but that love brings to the surface. This shift often includes a restructuring of emotional boundaries. He has to learn to let someone into parts of his world he used to guard. This means softening defenses built through heartbreak, loss, or emotional neglect. Allowing someone inside requires releasing the idea that he must handle everything alone. For a man who has relied on independence as protection, this shift can feel confusing. He begins to challenge his own belief that vulnerability equals weakness. He learns that caring deeply about someone means creating space for emotional closeness, something he may have avoided for years. His temporary distance becomes a way to adjust these boundaries without feeling overwhelmed. During this inner change, his priorities start to shift in subtle ways. The things he once saw as signs of success, control, and independence slowly begin to make space for connection, shared moments, and emotional stability. He starts to imagine a future where he is not on his own in his choices or goals. This new vision is both comforting and frightening.